Hello everybody, it's Margaret here with 60 and Me, back to talk to you about a topic that I think will be of interest, and especially given this current situation that we're all in, and that is this idea about the future and about longevity and our expectations for the future. And I think that there's a lesson here that we can learn together, and just want to share with you some thoughts. One of our bloggers, Sally Fox, wrote this article on how to increase your life expectancy by changing your life expectations. And it's kind of how our psychology and our mental state of thinking about things affects the future, and how it actually does direct the future and has an impact on how it turns out. So how are you looking at the future right now? Are you looking at it with a sense of excitement and wonder and possibility? Or are you thinking about it in terms of, the restrictions, the things that are holding us back, the lack of travel, the lack of connecting with friends? How are you seeing the future? Now, there's the immediate future, which we have to deal with. It's right in front of us. There's the restrictions and things that we have to deal with. And then there's the bigger future. And one of the things that I found most fascinating about this article by Sally was that there's a man called Frederick Pollack. He wrote a book called The Image of the Future, 1970, so a long time ago. But in this book, he actually looked at historical situations throughout history and determined that when people lose their sense of the future, when they don't have a positive sense of where they are going in the future as a person and also as a country, as a nation, as a world, that things actually become self-fulfilling prophecies, that civilizations collapse, broadly, we're talking historically, when there is no vision of a future, when people are so locked into the present, and for whatever reason, political or maybe there is a plague or some kind of a health issue, or just in their own personal lives, forget to think about the future. And of course, it is guided by governments and politics and policies and reality of the environment, for example. All these influence how we deal with our thoughts about the future. But I think it's a really useful exercise to actually stop for a minute and just ask yourself right now, how are you thinking about the future? How would you describe it? Now, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just a kind of a constantly positive person, but I actually am looking at the future with hope. And I'm actually looking at it as a positive thing, because I can see how, even though it's been an amazing year, and it will probably be an amazing, difficult year into 21, how much we have changed and how much we have learned and how good that is. I really do have a feeling that in the future, we're going to start to prioritize things in a different way. I certainly know that I am. And maybe you're not, maybe you haven't, maybe not been changed by it at all. But I think that finding new ways to live our lives is going to be a trend. And if you don't have that vision in the future, it's not going to happen in your life or in the life of the country or the world. So for example, family connections. I mean, everyone now is struggling with this because we cannot see our family. We cannot see our friends. I haven't seen my son in Scotland for a year, like physically in person. And I'm sure you've all got stories. And my grandchildren, I haven't given my grandson in Scotland a hug in a year. Yes, we've talked on the phone. We've done FaceTimes, all those things. And of course, I've got friends that are all around the world that I would love to see. And normally in my future vision a year, 2 years ago, they would have been in my travel plans. I'd be on my way and I would be seeing these people, but it's not happened. But the positive for the future for me is when I see them, it's going to be so wonderful. And I'm going to appreciate them so much more than I ever did before. And I think that's my future is going to be gratitude, for the things that I didn't get to do now that I'm getting to do in the future. There'll just be, in my opinion, a greater sense of connection and love, and if that's possible, and just a sense of that we belong together, that we're family. I'm looking at my notes here because there was a quote from the book that I wanted to read, which was something like, "Pictures we hold about tomorrow will shape our lives today." I think that's such a powerful, powerful quote. I don't know whether it came from the book or whether it was from Sally's, just her thoughts, but I'll read it again. Pictures in our head that we hold about tomorrow will shape our lives today. I just think that is such a powerful quote, and I think it's so important for us to remember it and make the pictures about the future be different. Rechange our life expectations. Yes, it's not going to be the same. Who would have thought that a year ago we would be having this conversation, that we'd even have that word in our vocabulary? And but it happened, and now we're moving into the next stage of that, the next part of this future world that we're all in together. So one thing that Sally talks about is a book that another one that I'm familiar with. I've read it years ago, which is by Ram Dass, which is Be Here Now. Remember that book? He was a spiritual teacher, and his suggestion was to basically live in the now. And in doing that, we don't get caught up in the past, regrets, what happened. I mean, even with the pandemic, the mistakes that were made. And we can only call them mistakes now because we have more insight and more information. We didn't know how to handle this thing. No, we'd never seen it before. We'd never lived it before. And I must admit, I know there's a lot of heat that's coming onto officials and health organizations and governments. And I agree with some of the commentary. But for the most part, everybody was doing the best they could. Yes, it got a bit tangled. It's getting a bit tangled with politics now, with the vaccines and so on. We've got more control over that. But I think for the most part, we really did do the best we could. So staying in the present and appreciating what we have and knowing that there is a bright future ahead and visualizing that, then we can shape our actions in order to achieve that. So the pictures that we hold about the past and about tomorrow will shape our lives today. So take deep breaths and nurture your senses. I'm looking at my notes here. There's a little thing I do with my grandson, Max, which is we have our discovery box. And we have just a little Christmas box, small thing. And we go out every day with his little magnifying glass and his little discovery box, and we look for things to discover. And it could be a plant, it could be a rock, it could be a piece of paper that we found on the ground, it could be a twig. It's just something that has a little story to it, and we bring it back. But it's that kind of going out into the world and seeing and visualizing the things that are new, that you're learning about, that are things that you can discover either by yourself or with your friends or family, however you can get out into this world right now. And as Sally talks about, one of the most important things is to notice your emotions as you're doing these things. Is it like a sense of, yeah, whatever, or is it a sense of wow, and looking like that's something to learn about together? That's something that we can do for ourselves to build on this present and create a happier and healthier future. Another thing that I think a lot of people are thinking about, and I certainly am too, is climate change, the condition of our earth. Now, whether you're watching this and you agree with this, you may not. Lots of people don't agree with it, and that's that I guess I personally don't understand that too much because there seems to be a lot of evidence. But if you don't, I respect that. I mean, we are different. But I think that the reality is that it's ahead of us. It's a future that could look bleak, but it also could look hopeful. We can do stuff. We can simplify our lives. We can respect the earth. And if that's perhaps one of the things that has come out of this as well, is that the earth is there to feed us and nurture us and take care of us. We need to respect it back and take care of it and do whatever we can to live a simpler, more healthy, less energy or more energy efficient, less energy guzzling lifestyle, and try to build a world that our grandchildren will have to live in, and that it won't be a world of chaos and challenges for them. That's kind of I look at my grandchildren, and maybe if you haven't got grandkids, go ahead, just look at the world, look at the children in the world, look at your nieces and nephews, and just be compassionate with the whole world, not just in our country. Look broadly around those countries that are really affected by this more than perhaps United States or Canada or UK, France, wherever you might be. So the thing I think that's important, and Sally mentions this, and I love this, which is to always have an expectation, a life expectation that is positive and hopeful, but know that it could be bumpy to get there. So it's like having a dream, knowing that the reality is still pretty dark. So, for example, the one that she gives in the article, which I think is a perfect example, is the conversation with Martin Luther King. I have a dream. I have a dream that we're going to live together despite the color of our skin. We are going to live as, holding hands, little children. Beautiful statement about a dream for the future. And he made that statement, I forget what year it was, but he knew that they were in the middle of the really most difficult time with racial inequality. And there's so much still going on today that we have to, improve and work with, and it's getting a bit better. But it's getting better because people believed the dream, but lived it. lived through the period when it wasn't a dream, when it wasn't reality. And I think that's the way we've got to look at this virus, and the way that we've got to look at other challenges that we have a hope for. The world can get better in terms of the environment and just gentleness that we show to the earth. These reusing, recycling, reinventing. While we know that trash is coming up on the beaches in Bali and it's just impossible to manage it. Someone's got to stop throwing the trash. But we have to accept that we have a dream, that the future is our hope, while we're still in the middle of it, while we're still in the middle of the challenges. Signs of progress are everywhere, and I think it's just seeing those little signs, doesn't matter how small they are, how much of a glimmer they are, and holding on to them and bringing them into ourselves. This is the future. It's going to be okay. I sound like I'm preachy, but I'm not really. I'm just being passionate about, having a life expectation that will add to our present joy and happiness. If we just shut it out and say, I can't think about the future, it's too dark, it's too dismal, it's too depressing, then it will be. So back to that quote. Pictures we hold about tomorrow will shape our lives today. I love it. So do you have a realistic idea of the future that is happy and positive? How are you doing with that? How is your life expectation for your future? Have a really great day, everybody. See if you can live this. See if you can go out into the world and live it. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel here. Always forget to mention that till the end. But please press the button, subscribe, and the notification bell. I need your help with that, please. And also, if you want to join our Patreon group to have a more sort of private conversation with a smaller group of women, we're having such fun in that group. I'm telling you, it's patreon.com/60andme. Please come and join us. So take it easy. Have a great day, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye for now.